Previously on The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon.
Hey, you're an American guy. What's cracking, dude? That line's still cringe, I'm not gonna lie to you.
No thanks.
It's not what you think.
He does meet Laurent, who basically wants Daryl to solve like a Rubik's Cube. And Daryl's just like, I ain't doing this. I'm not really good at stuff like that, you know? And there's a big fight that breaks out. They start stabbing a bunch of them. They actually lose a lot of their guns. But Codon gets away, of course. Really good. Really, really damn good. Everyone, make room! Father Daryl is coming!
I'm sorry. All right. Let it all out.
Oh.
Are you through?
Oh, Lord.
Well, I know one father that would find this amusing.
Hey guys, it's Dan, your host of your Dan's Reviews, and today I'm back for another video for The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, and in today's video we're going to be doing our weekly review for this week's episode. This is our review for Season 1, Episode 2, Alouette.
Alright guys, this one's going to be doing a review today. This one's going to be doing a review for The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon. And in today's video, we're going to be doing our weekly review for this week's episode of Season 1. This one is for Season 1, Episode 2, Alouette. So, the second episode of Daryl Dixon is now streaming on AMC+. Make sure to go ahead and check it out, and then come back and watch this review. This was absolutely amazing. I absolutely could not believe how good this episode was. It was absolutely sensational. And to be honest, I didn't really expect the Daryl Dixon series to be kind of, you know, shocking me with this kind of a good episode this soon, but I would say that this episode is one of the best Walking Dead episodes we've seen in many, many years, to be honest. It was so damn good. It was so freaking original. And it was really, really cool because obviously we've had a lot of great episodes. You know, I think this episode is definitely on par with like some 11C episodes from last year, you know what I mean? But just speaking from this year for Walking Dead Universe, this might be, if not my favorite episode, it's one of them because we see so much original stuff in this episode. We see the fall of France from Isabel's perspective, which was amazingly done. And we also see some great action sequences. We see a lot of awesome Daryl stuff. There's even some comedy thrown in this episode, which I thought was really amazing. And there's some really emotional scenes with Laurent and his kind of, you know, backstory through Isabel, you know, her perspective. And there was a lot going on in this episode. So basically the episode begins and we're in a flashback with Isabel. We see France for the very first time, you know, fully lit up, of course. And this is the night of the fall, right? So we got Isabel, she's at like this party or whatever, she's, you know, kind of, you know, just having some fun and stuff, and then she ends up leaving, right, and she kind of is looking rather nervous, but we don't really know why yet. She walks outside, has a cigarette, and then notices that there are people that are trying to attack one another, which is, of course, zombies, but from her perspective, it looks like people are trying to attack each other, and someone gets run over by a car, there's somebody that's like trying to eat someone, you know, and she's just like, what the hell is going on, right? So she goes down right to the subways and she's, you know, standing there waiting for her subway to show up. And anyway, she literally sees like a subway that just like goes from one to another, goes right past her, and we see the subway of people that are like, you know, freaking out inside as zombies are turning and eating people inside of the subway. I mean, it's absolutely insane. Absolutely crazy. And she's witnessing this from the outside and she's watching the world break down in front of her, right? And you got flipped over cars, you got a guy on a bike that ends up driving by and he like flips his bike and like flies off his bike at one part, and she's like noticing all this go down, and it's shot in just such a phenomenal way. I mean, honestly, the way they do it, the feeling of panic is there, man. It's there. And to be honest, I actually would say this is my favorite, you know, outbreak scene The Walking Dead has done. It is, because Fear, you know, they kind of did it. You know, main show, they didn't really do it. They kind of skipped over it. And the other spinoffs, they haven't really shown that kind of stuff in this detail. This felt real. This felt scary. And from her perspective, I mean, it was absolutely terrifying. It was really, really good. And luckily, she gets saved by a guy named Quinn, somebody that she knows, and he's like, get in the car or whatever. So she gets in the car with him, and basically she says like, okay, we can get out of here, but I'm gonna go get my sister, then we can go leave, right? So basically, she goes and finds her sister, and her sister's just like, no, I don't want to leave. Like, what are you freaking out about, sis? Like, it's no big deal. And she's just like, sis, I'm telling you right now, we're leaving right now. The city is going mad, right? And they get in the vehicle, and then we find out that she's pregnant. So they want to try to find a safe place for her to have the baby, right? But Quinn is kind of, not so sure. He's like, how are we really going to deal with this? So, of course, Isabel does what she needs to do. We know how badass she can be. She steals the keys from the back of his, jacket, and she steals his vehicle and strands him there. She literally leaves Quinn behind, takes his vehicle to get her sister to a safe place. So they then go to the nun compound, and this is when we get introduced to the Abbey during the flashbacks, and we see the father there too, the guy that was a zombie last episode. We actually see him in this one, and he helps the sister deliver the baby, right? Which, we've talked about this on the channel many times, and the theory turned out to be true. The baby is Laurent. Laurent is the baby that her sister gives birth to, and Isabel is the aunt. So we learn about that in the episode. But here's the interesting part. We actually also see that the mother, during the, the breakout or whatever, her sister was bit, right? And at first they just wrap her, arm around like a Band-Aid or something, right? And then after a while, you realize that no, the bites kill you, right? And she turns into a zombie, but she still delivers Laurent either way. That's crazy. That's absolutely insane. And I never thought we would see that in the Walking Dead universe. I thought originally when we saw the teasers for this show that she would give birth, Laurent would be born, and then she would turn into a walker and die, right? But no, she turns into a walker and Laurent is perfectly fine. That's insane, right? And they talk about throughout the whole episode, like Laurent is special, Laurent is special. Well, there you go, right? And at the end, she, has to say goodbye to her sister. They put her sister down, and she is now left with the Abbey and a baby Laurent, right? And we now figure out that that's why Isabel stayed at this non-compound for a safe place for Laurent, and she joins the nuns, and that's basically her backstory. So I thought that was absolutely phenomenal. I thought that was such a great backstory for Isabel, really upping her character a lot for me as, a great character. And I really enjoyed her. Now, let's go through the current day stuff, right? So we got Daryl, we got Laurent, we got Sylvie, and Isabel, and they are basically on the road. They've left the Abbey compound after it got destroyed, right? And there is like a minor scene in this one where Caudron is like listening to the Daryl tape recorder or whatever that basically explains that he comes from the Commonwealth. And, Caudron kind of, catches on to that. So there is a minor Caudron scene at the Abbey, but like, there's really not all that much. But we're mostly focused on Daryl and his crew out there, and they're trying to find a safe place for the night, right? And they end up running into a group of survivors that fires an arrow down at them, right? And Daryl goes after them. And we saw this in the sneak peek. Daryl gets knocked down to the ground by this group of survivors wearing these like big masks, right? And we find out that this group is actually a whole bunch of kids, which I found really crazy. Like a lot of like, kind of older, some younger type of kids that are just out there surviving, which I found to be really interesting. And we get introduced to the leader, the bow and arrow lady, and you guys are going to have to bear with me here. I'm not good with names. But, they bring Daryl in, basically, and they have to lie in order to be let in. They basically tell them that they're nuns, so that part's true, right? They're like, we're a group of nuns, and this right here is Father Daryl. So I found that to be pretty funny. So Daryl goes around, the whole episode, he's like, yeah, I'm a father. Yeah, that's me, right? And it works because they let them in. It's like, okay, so it's a group of nuns, and this one American guy is actually their father. He's the father of the nuns, right? So I'm just like, oh my god, man. So we get to see Father Daryl in this episode, and it's pretty funny because, they kind of all chill out. They give them a tour of their place. Really nice community, might I add. Really, really like it. And I like the one, like I said, the one leader. I forget her name. I didn't catch her name, but I really like her. The girl with the bow and arrow. I thought she was really good. And basically, we get to see in this one, they are sitting around, like they're eating dinner and stuff, and I love it too, because they're like, Daryl, Father Daryl, would you pray with us, right? And he's like, what? He's like, oh, okay, yeah. Lord, yeah, I don't know why he turned the world into the way it was, and apparently, according to her, she knew in that moment. She's like, okay, you're not a father, what the frig, you know? But I found it cool because Daryl actually has to act like a father and pray with everybody around the table, which I thought was really cool.
Father Daryl, would you lead us in a prayer of thanks?
You mean like saying grace?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
You can tell he's not a father immediately because 2 seconds later, he's like slurping his soup and everybody's looking at him and he's like, what? It's good soup, you know? So, yeah, Daryl is freaking hilarious in this show. I don't know what the frig they're doing with him, but he's absolutely hilarious and in the best way possible. I love it. I love what they do with it. It's really fun stuff. And I love how he pretends to be a father in this episode and then slurps his soup like a true redneck, you know? So, yeah, absolutely awesome. And basically, you get a few chill scenes, you know, like they're watching a movie and stuff. You get, like, some scenes like that. And apparently, it was a show that he used to watch with Merle. So, you know, they do bring up Merle a lot in this show, which I do like. So that's pretty cool. And anyway, then Daryl goes out on a mission with the one leader of this group, and they kind of walk out there. She talks English, which is good, so they can communicate well. But Daryl ends up locking her up into one of the buildings because he doesn't want her to get any kind of trouble, right? And he basically goes through, you get this one guy that, of course, is like trying to kill one of her people, which is one of the kids. And anyway, this guy has like a sniper rifle. He's firing at them back and forth, right? And Daryl protects the kid. Obviously, that's what Daryl does. And he goes up there, he makes his way right up to the roof and snatches the guy and takes his rifle from him, love it, points it right at him, and he's like, I'm an American too. I come from, what did he say? He's like, I come from Texas or something, and I found this interesting. I don't know if this is supposed to be a tie-in to Fear of the Walking Dead, but Daryl's like, I've been to Maine, I've been to Texas, I've been to all these places. And I'm not really sure when he was, aside from probably at the end of the original Walking Dead. He probably left for a while, and from what I heard in the teaser, it sounds like Daryl made his way all the way out to Maine, right? So, like, that's pretty far out into the U.S. That's almost in Canada, you know what I mean? And he, yeah, apparently he made it all the way through Maine, and he was traveling around the U.S., like, for a while. So, he's been to Texas. Apparently, Daryl's been to Texas. I'm like, man, imagine if Daryl was in Fear of the Walking Dead. You know, they're not going to do it, but I found that kind of funny. It's just an Easter egg, but I thought it was pretty crazy. And this American guy, here's the other ironic part. His name is actually RJ. And he's trying to make buddy-buddy with Daryl type of thing, and Daryl's not having it. So the guy ends up attacking him, and they end up going into a pit full of walkers, which was pretty freaking insane. And Daryl has to fight several of them with his Morning Star. Meanwhile, this guy is still tied up, and the walkers just tear into him, which was a really gruesome death. So I love that. That was absolutely amazing. And basically, Daryl goes back with the kids, and, you know, they kind of go back. There is one moment where apparently one of their friends is like a walker within that crowd, so they have to, like, put him down and stuff. There's a few scenes like that. But anyway, at the end of the episode, they basically end up leaving. Laurent basically goes with Isabelle and Sylvie and the rest of them. And, you know, Laurent's kind of upset because one of their horses died or whatever, and Isabelle kind of promised him that it wouldn't and stuff. But, you know, for the most part, Laurent gets it and he leaves with them and stuff. But it takes a little bit of convincing, right? And this is when they talk about how special he is, and then we get the flashbacks and stuff like that. So, in terms of this episode, and in terms of what I thought about it overall, I loved it. I loved the episode. I thought it was absolutely sensational, and I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. I thought it was absolutely perfect. I think this episode right here is probably my favorite episode from these Walking Dead spinoffs so far, like Dead City and Daryl Dixon. This might be my favorite one. Call me nuts. It might be my favorite one. Out of all of Season 1 of Dead City and the premiere of Daryl, I think this one might be my favorite so far out of the new spinoffs, right? So, yeah, very, very awesome episode. Absolutely loved it. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys thought about it. And if you're new to the channel and you enjoy videos like this for The Walking Dead, be sure to click that subscribe button so you don't miss any other videos for The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon. Be sure to follow me on Dan's The Walking Dead reviews on Instagram, guys. And of course, I'll see you guys really soon for more videos for Daryl Dixon. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and peace out.